What's going on, everybody? It's the top 40 people, places, and things. Yes, that's right. You liking the song? If you liking the song, sound off in the comments. Let me know how you liking it. I am excited today to dedicate this video to my father, Abraham Mose Jr., affectionately known as, you already know, Ham. My dad, my best friend, my protector, my mechanic, my laughing buddy, my cutting up person, like my dad, my good time, my dad, my everything, my guide, my instructor, the one who knew me well. He got me. He was the one who totally gets me, right? My dad, he's my number 2 in the countdown. I guess it's a count up, actually. If I'm wrong, one of y'all will tell me, am I right or wrong? You're wrong. That's for you, Bryson. And we'll get to that video in some time. But my dad, Abraham Mose Jr., he is my everything. My dad's my best friend. I can recall so many fond memories of the time that I've spent with my dad. I remember as a little girl, we would go play spades with Raymond Benz. Shout out to Raymond Benz and him just being a best friend to my dad, and rest his soul. But we would go play spades with Raymond Benz. We would play horseshoes. They would play golf. They would play darts. Anything under the sun. They were playing pinochle. Whatever it is that they could have played and got together and drank their beer and smoked their Newport 100s and never ash it. That's what we did, right? So my dad's my best friend. We had a lot of good times, a lot of fun together. I never got a beating. I had one time I got almost beaten. I got almost beaten because of my brother, rest his soul, Bunny, and Cookie. I got almost beaten because of them. My brother decided that he was going to run away and teach me how to run away. So my brother writes this I ran away little letter, and he leaves it on the kitchen table. My father comes home. I'm home. I've come home from school. I'm by myself. And there's a 7-year difference between me and my brother. And so somebody should have been home with me, right? Right? He wasn't there. So my dad's going crazy. He's like, where's your brother? Where's your brother? I'm like, I don't know where he's at. My dad sees the letter on the kitchen table. He's like, oh, you know where he's at. He ran away. Where is he at? You covering for him? Y'all covering for each other? I was like, no, I really don't know. My dad's I'm about to beat you. I'm like, no, I gotta use the bathroom, Daddy. I gotta pee. He was like, nah, you don't gotta pee. You doing that thing that people do, that kids do when they don't want to get a beating. I'm finna beat you. I'm like, oh no. So I started praying then. That's when my prayer life started. Hallelujah. I started praying then. And my mom came through the door. It was like a movie. She's like, Abraham, I found him. They're down at Crazy Eights. Anybody knows anything about Waterbury? Crazy Eights was an arcade. My brother's on the arcade. She said, he's down there with Cookie. I'm going to get him now. I said, I'm going in the car because, listen, I need to see what exactly happened. And when we got down to Crazy Eights, just to finish the story and not leave you hanging, when we got down to Crazy Eights, my mom said, what's going on, Abraham? Why didn't you tell me you were going to Crazy Eights? Why did you leave a note that said you ran away? This brother gonna say, oh, I was teaching Deon how to run away because she said she wanted to run away. So I was teaching her how to write I ran away. Man, listen, to this day, I love my brother, rest his soul. But that was dirty. But I never got a beating from my father. My father was my protector. I can remember, I've got lots of stories and I'm just gonna share them with you. You know, I can remember when my Uncle Sportio, rest his soul, my Uncle Sportio said something, to me. He was like, you know, you don't need to be saying that. You don't need to be saying that. I think I might have told him shut up or something like that. And I was playing, but he was like, you don't need to be saying that. My dad said, you don't talk to her like that. You know, if you need to tell her something, you tell me, and I'll tell her, right? Because my dad was really protective of me. He's my protector, right? And he was like, nah, you're not gonna be talking to her like that. My Uncle Spready was like, or what? What? Why did he do that one? My dad said, or what? I got something for you. I remember my dad going outside. He said, I got something for you. My mother said, no, Abraham, don't go outside. No. Being mad dramatic, right? And my dad went outside. I remember just at 98 Regency. He went in that trunk. He was like, clap, clap. What you want to say now? I'm like, no, what's happening? We're going to hit the news. And he put the gun back, but my dad's always been a protector. He's always made sure I had a little piece of steel. He's like, listen, if I'm here, you call me. Don't you let no man hit up on you. If that's happening, you get out of Dodge. That's not normal. That's not what you need to be doing. Don't let no man hit on you. I don't hit on you. I never got to beat him, like I told you. So I don't hit on you. And if I'm alive and something like that is happening, you call me. I'm going to always be there. My dad always came through for me. I can remember being in Boston. And those of you who know me know I don't do rodents. Mice, you can have a house. I don't care how many acres. You can have it. I don't want it if you live there, right? It sounds crazy, but that's just my relationship with rodents. And I saw some mice in Boston. I called my dad. Cliff, you remember? I called my dad. I said, Daddy, now I'm in Boston, he's in Connecticut. I'm like, Daddy, I've seen some mice. I'm not going to be able to do this. My dad said, give me 2 hours. My dad came and picked me up, and I stayed with my dad for about 3 or 4 days. And then when we came back, he put the traps out, and I ended up moving. But my dad always came through for me. I was and still I am his baby. I am a daddy's girl. Even in his death, he continues to take care of me. Anytime we went to a store, it could have been Advanced Auto Parts. I was coming out with air fresheners or something. He always bought me something. My dad always took care of me. That's why it's really hard for me to date, because baby, like, you got to step right. My dad was everything that, all that and more. Even the good and the bad, he was still all that and more. We were able to work through our situations. We were able to talk it out. We were able to have forgiveness amongst both of us, because we both was doing some crazy stuff, right? And in relationship, that's really important. So my dad has been everything to me. He's my mechanic. Oh my Lord. Let me just tell you. So back in the day, those of you who know me know I'm on my like 21st or 22nd car. I don't have mad cars. I'm only 40. I had like a whole bunch of cars, luxury cars, brand new cars, hoopties, you name it. That's why cars don't mean anything to me. But let me tell you, I had this one car. My mom had cut me off after graduating and everything. My mom had cut me off. She was like, listen, I'm not paying no more car notes. I'm not paying no more insurance. You're on your own. And that was actually the moment that made me into the individual that I am today. My mom was like, you got to stand on your own 2 feet, because all this, us looking out for you, that's not going to work. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet. Go and get your own car. So I got my own car. But something had happened to it, so I brought it to the shop, and the dealer gave me this hoopty to drive around. My Lord. Everybody drove that car. I can remember my cousins coming to the house, getting the car. I'm not even there. Coming to the house, getting the car. It was the community car, and that thing was a hoopty lux. Let me tell you, one of the car was blue and one of the doors was black. You couldn't even open the door from the inside. You had to roll the window down, because it wasn't automatic. You had to roll the window down, put your hand on the outside, open the door, and get out that way. Well, we had drove this thing down, and I was driving down the road. Anybody, again, that knows me, there's so many people that I've encountered and come in contact with in many different states, countries. So I'm trying to tell the story so that everyone can understand. But my grandfather's church, and where I was brought up, I lived next to the church, and it was this very big hill. And so I remember backing out of the driveway, coming down the hill, and the car would not stop. I was like, going down school road, y'all. I'm like, oh no, the car won't stop. So I used my emergency brake and stopped the car to a place where I can bring it back up. to the house and park it. Brought it back up to the house, parked it, went in the house. I was like, Ma, the car won't stop. She was like, you need to call your father. Call my father. I'm like, Daddy, the car won't stop. He said, I'm coming over. I'm going to fix the brakes. All right, boom. Daddy comes over. He's fixing the brakes. I'm fixing him some lemonade. I'm fixing him some food. I go to bring the food out and to bring the lemonade out. And that's where I learned how to serve a man, okay? And there was many times when my mother would cook bless her heart. My mom, I can remember my mom cooking every night for my father. And I think that's where I get it from. And I would serve my dad. My mom would serve my dad, but then she would teach me to serve my dad, right? So I'm bringing the stuff out to my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, Daddy." He was like, and don't hate me with his Newport 100, right? He's like, don't hate me, don't hate me. He was like, y'all been riding around in this car, and it was something that was lodged in the brake. The brakes weren't going, but something had lodged in the brake, which caused the brake not to activate. My Lord, my Lord. I was like, oh, okay. Daddy has fixed a gas leak for me. Gas leak I didn't even know I had. I drove from. So wild. I take so many risks because of my dad. He was a daredevil. I drove from Waterbury with my best friend Shaka at the time. We drove from Waterbury all the way to New Haven with a gas leak, smelling like gas. Could have blew up at any point in time, smelling like gas, so my dad can fix my car. And he fixed my car, y'all, with his Newport 100 hanging out the side of his mouth and wouldn't ash it. I'm like, Daddy, I need you to ash that because we not all about to blow up out of here. Now, I'm gonna need you to ash that because it's a gas leak, Daddy. It's a gas leak, baby. He's like, I got this. We ain't blow up. I'm here, right? My dad taught me how to be free, how to be carefree, how to just live your life and enjoy it. You know, we talked many times about the mistakes that he had made. My dad had made some mistakes. My dad and my mom, they split. It just did not work. And I'm really glad and grateful that my mom never bad talked my dad. Never, ever bad talked my dad. Always said, have a relationship with your father. And never allow her feelings or the feelings that came from the separation and the divorce, never allow that to seep into who I am and the relationship with my father. And I really respected her for that. And my dad, we talked about that a number of times. There was a point in time where he was not there. And I just could not understand. You're my best friend. Where'd you go? Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? But I always had hope, and I always prayed, even as a young child. You know, I would pray and be like, God, just work that situation out. I don't really know. I don't know what happened between my mom and my dad, but work that situation out. And God did just that. My dad was a catalyst for me learning how to forgive. I remember I was young. I was very, very young, and I was approaching engagement with the guy that I was with at the time. And I said to myself, I'm going to have to really seriously forgive my dad. If I'm really going to want to love this man for real, I'm going to have to forgive my dad. We're going to have to talk through, you know, why I have this thing in my heart on me that is really just causing me to really not like him in certain ways or in certain spaces. And I remember, and my dad knew that at some point in time, my life would be on display. I've already had this conversation with him prior to his death that I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell my truth. I'm never going to disrespect you with my truth, but I'm going to tell my truth. And I remember my dad had went to prison. It's not funny, stop. I went to prison because he had stabbed his partner at the time 3 times. And I can remember him going to prison. And I became really petty. I am not gonna front, because I want to help somebody with forgiveness and help somebody understand things about your parents that you might not even understand, right? Or things about your kids that you might not understand. And he went to prison, and he was asking if I would get an apartment for him so that we can live together while he gets back on his feet. And scratching my head on purpose, I was like, yeah, Daddy, I got you. And in my mind, in my very young mind, I was like, I'm not getting no apartment for you. There was a whole bunch of times you said you was coming, you ain't never come. This is your payback, Daddy. This is your payback. I told y'all, I'm delivered now, and I live my life and let God get the vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So I don't live my life like that. But we had a conversation about that as to why I felt that way and why I felt being petty was how I should have handled that. And we talked through that. And in talking through that, I realized my mom and my dad were young when they got married, and they were making a lot of mistakes. When I was 18 and 19, around their age, when they got married, I was making so many mistakes. And I'm like, you know what? I need to forgive them for whatever happened. That's not my story. That's not for me to figure out, but I need to forgive them because they made mistakes. And if this man, my father, is here right now and he is concerned about our relationship and how it will be in the future, I need to forgive him so that we can get the best out of this relationship. Time that has been spent or has not been spent cannot be recalculated. We can't go back. It's spilled milk. It's water under the bridge. There's nothing that we can do about that, but we can do something about who we are going forward. So I made a decision to forgive him under one condition. I told him that he would have to ask my mother for forgiveness. And that's where the real relationship started. I said, you know what? You were making mistakes. I've made mistakes. I understand where you were. And you're going to have to ask my mother for forgiveness because she was good to you. She was good to you. And she never, ever, ever turned me against you. So that warrants a forgiveness. That warrants a request for forgiveness. So my dad has always been that person who will listen to what I have to say. He's always been that person that stuck up for me. He's always been that person that had my back. He's always been that person that will go to bat for me. He's just always been that person. He's taught me how to spot a cheater. He hit me to the dating game. He's hit me to the marriage game. He's hit me to all the games. You know, he's taught me what I'm worth, who I'm worth, keep myself behind the case and not have to put myself on display for someone to like me or to love me. He's taught those things to me. So when he passed away, I lost my dad's voice. And I didn't trust my instincts. I didn't trust God enough to believe that God would still lead me and guide me when his voice was gone. So I grieved a lot during the 7 years between my dad passing and now. I grieved a lot, but I realized I grieved a lot because he was so much to me. He taught me how to be submissive. He told me how much love matters to a woman, but respect matters to a man. So my dad, he's responsible for so many of the lessons that I have learned. He's responsible for so many of the ways that I have. We are twins. He was a laugh box. We would laugh for hours. He understood me. My dad allowed me to come to him. I remember one time, I think I was like 20, and I came to my dad and I was cussing. I was cussing up a storm. Daddy, and he's laughing the whole time. He's letting me get it out, and he's like, I don't ever want to hear you saying words like that again. And that just brought me into a space like, you know what? This is a safe space. I can be who I want to be. I can say what I want to say. I can say it however I want to say it. He's going to hear me, but he also is going to correct me. He's going to guide me. He's going to instruct me, and he's going to love on me. And that has been one of the best friendships I've ever had. I can recall, we went to a family reunion back in 2013, and this was the year prior to him passing. And we went to a family reunion, and at the family reunion, there was a man. Again, y'all gonna get all my business. I'm gonna be transparent. There was a pastor that spoke over my life, and he prophesied in my life, and everything except for one thing has come to pass, and I believe that one thing is coming to pass really soon. Excuse me. But the man prophesied to me, and then he had my family come and sow into my hands. So my family was giving money into my hands, and that was the last family reunion that we all went to together. It was really important because that that very month, I had gotten news that my scholarship at Berkeley was gone. I don't know what happened. I had no more money. I was going to class. I was getting good grades. I just had no more scholarship money. I didn't know what happened. I was extremely devastated. So when I went to the family reunion and the family gave money into my hands, there was something that I had just paid for that I really ain't had the money for. I was a broke college student, and the money was to the dime of what I had just spent. So I knew there was something to this prophecy. That's why I said I believe that last thing is happening. It's going to be happening. PJ is coming. But my father, when I got back home, you know, the prophecy was whatever is happening with this thing that's bothering you, which was the scholarship, whatever is happening with it, it's going to be worked out. Just trust God. This was the year that my mom was going to turn 60. It was a lot of things were happening. I didn't have money for her birthday. I always loved to shower my mother with gifts. So I'm just in this space. If anybody can relate to that, I was in this space, in this funk. I'm like, I can't get to school. I'm supposed to graduate next year. Like, what is going on? I got back and I talked to my dad. My dad said, you know, what are you gonna do about school? What are you gonna do about school? I said, I don't have the money. It's like $10,000. Like, who got that? Right? I didn't ask for it. I just said, who got that? He was like, so what you gonna do? What's your plan? My dad would always like to pick my brain about my plan. He's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't know. My plans are probably just gonna work and figure it out. He's like, okay, well, let me know what you're gonna do. So I got at my feels. I was like, let me know what you're gonna do, Daddy. I mean, you were supposed to be my daddy. You're supposed to just step in and do it, right? Or figure it out for me. So I was in my feels. I let 2 weeks go by because I wasn't just upset with him. I was upset with the entire situation. So I called him. I was like, hey. He was like, where you been? I'm like, trying to figure it out. He's like, you know, what are you trying to figure out? I'm like, where am I get this money from for school? Like, I don't know. He was like, all right, well, since it's been like 2 weeks and you trying to figure it out, keep trying to figure it out. I'm like, oh, Daddy, you being rude. I was already in the mood, so I'm like, I ain't even about to fool with him. About 2.5 hours later, my dad shows up at my house. My dad shows up at my house with the $10,000 in cash. And I sat there and I'm like, well, if you had this already, why you ain't just give it to me? He said, I had to teach you how to ask a man for what you need, how to ask him when you need something. I didn't teach you that. I realized I've just been giving it to you, but I haven't taught you how to ask. And the money definitely excited me. God had already worked it out. Actually, a couple days before then, I had gotten an email, and it wasn't official, but a couple days after that, I received another email saying that my scholarship was reinstated. What had ended up happening, I switched over to the music therapy department, and something about the funds just didn't come over. Long story short, it was their error. So I got my scholarship, and I was elated, and I had this money, and I'm just like, wow, I'm able to do something for my mother. Again, I'm gonna be transparent with y'all. I'm able to do something for my mom. I'm able to learn a lesson. And my dad came through for me yet again. That's why it's so important for me to be with the right person, because my dad has laid that foundation. He comes through. He's a protector. He's a provider. I'm the apple of his eye. If you're not conducting yourself like that, I can't rock with you, right? So ladies, like, one of the things that my father always told me, this is why I got this husband vibes only shirt on, okay? Because if you're not coming with husband vibes, kick off. But my dad always told me, baby, you don't gotta chase nothing. Nothing. Not a man, not a dream, not a goal, not a nothing. You don't have to chase anything. Do what you're supposed to do, and it will come to you regarding goals and dreams and all that. Do what you're supposed to do. Be consistent. Be committed. It'll come to you. And a man knows what he wants. He's going to come after you if he wants you. Okay? Okay? So, my dad, he was my teacher. Taught me a lot of lessons. Dad used to talk in riddles. Oh, he's talking riddles, man. I don't even have time to get into them, but I am appreciative for my father for many reasons. And I know I told you all about the forgiveness. And in 2013, God will always be with you with your prayers. It might not happen immediately, but they will happen. 2013, at the end of 2013, it was almost Christmas time, and my dad was around. We were hanging out, and I told my dad, I said, you know, you made me a promise. You said you're going to ask my mom for forgiveness, and that's the only thing I want for Christmas. I want you to ask her for forgiveness. And my dad asked her for forgiveness, and that in return showed me how a man can be a man. So I appreciate my dad for all that he has been, for all that he is. I'll bring you up to 2014. It's a week before my graduation. And I have been talking to my dad. I have been talking to him all year, actually, about my graduation. And I shared it with my mom. I'm like, Dad, you coming to my graduation? And I was only joking because he's always been supportive of me. So I knew he was going to be there. I'm like, hey, you coming to my graduation? My dad was like, I don't know. How you feeling about it? I'm like, how I'm feeling about it? I want my parents to be there. What you mean? He's like, I don't know. And I kept asking him at the beginning of April in 2014. I kept asking him, Daddy, you coming? He was like, I don't know. What's the weather gonna be like? And I knew he wasn't going to be here. A week before my graduation, my father dies. It's the craziest time of my life. It's the most devastating time of my life because it's supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be joyous. And it's not. And I'm having to, in this moment, I'm having to take my finals because as a music therapy student, you can't miss your finals. I had to take my finals, and I had to bury my father, and I had to prepare a funeral for my father that was befitting of who he is and was. And it was Mother's Day. There were lots of things going on. My father's in Connecticut. I'm in Boston. I'm having to go down to Connecticut every night. Shout out to Malika Lindsay for driving me to Connecticut. Shout out to Janine Bordeaux and to Colleen, rest her soul, for being right there with me in New Haven every time I had to go. Shout out to countless many other people. I don't want to start naming people. It's my church thing. I don't want to start naming people's names because I'll miss somebody. I don't want to start naming people, but my friends Clifton and Javian, like, they stepped in, helped me with my finals. Like, the love that I received during that time, thank you all for that love. And again, so many other countless people, I just probably cannot remember it right now, but it doesn't mean that I don't truly appreciate you for it. So many people had to step in to just lift me up, and I know that y'all were praying for me because the way I was able to get through that season of my life, there was no way I would have gotten through that season of my life without you all praying for me. So thank you for your prayers. I lose my father, but I don't lose his memory. And I don't lose all that he is to me. When his birthday comes around, when his angel anniversary comes around, I always do what I want to do in his memory. If it means doing nothing, because that's just what I want to do, in his memory, that's who we are. That's who we were. We do what we want to do. We have fun. So I dedicate this second video, to my father, Abraham Mose Jr. Abraham Mose Jr., I love you so much. I've told you when you were here, and I thank you for loving on me. I thank you for birthing me into such a wonderful Mose family. Y'all will hear about my Mose family as time progresses, and you'll hear about my Clement family as well. I thank my mother for birthing me into that family, and I'm grateful for my parents giving me the best of both worlds and teaching me lessons that I was learning. They didn't even know they were teaching me. Some they were teaching me on purpose, and some I just learned from them just being who they are. I love my father. I am grateful for my father, and I am elated to be able to dedicate this video to my father. Abraham Mose Jr. Ham. Y'all hear Mecca shaking? Ham, you are my baby, and you will always remain in my heart.
There won't be